Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. I'm Daniel.
I'm Chris.
And we're the hosts of the Jedi Enclave Presents. Now, this is podcast with this year's special edition episode, 2024, The Good, the Bad, and the Fucking Terrible. And let me tell you, Chris, if I had done any pre-planning of this whatsoever, we would have had it before the Christmas episode, because there was no Christmas episode because our show fell on Christmas.
It was Christmas.
So now we're doing the 2024 retrospective, and we're also doing Skeleton Crew.
I mean, this is, I think we're still within the acceptable range of 2024.
For us to bitch about 2024, yeah. So we're going to be doing that today. We're going to go through some of the things that we've seen, like we went to theaters to see, or like cool shows that aired in 2024.
And if you're very lucky, we might talk about Dune Prophecy, which had its last episode 2 Sundays ago.
Yeah, well, we're definitely going to talk about Skeleton Crew 5 and 6.
Yeah, for sure.
Because we didn't get to do that last week. Mm-hmm. And it's a good thing we're doing 2, because this week's episode was literally 20 minutes long. Yeah. Like, I joke about, I'm like, no more 20-minute episodes. And joking, this week's episode was literally 20 minutes long. So it's a very little bitty episode, little bitty anemic episode.
I've noticed, like, if you look at the runtimes, they alternate between like 30 minutes, including credits and recap and all that, and then like 40 or 45 minutes. So hopefully this next week will be a little bit more substantial.
Sure would be nice. We're going to chat about Dune Prophecy a little bit during the 2024, The Good, the Great, and the Fucking Terrible. But we might also save that for, I think because we have to do Marvel What If at some point too.
Oh, yeah.
Because that happened last week. And I think it's probably the end of that.
I believe so. Yeah.
So while you're here, if you could go check us out on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitch, and Discord, all of the links are in the description. We'd appreciate it. And I think we don't have time for any of this. So we're just going to start in. Let's do the Skeleton Crew stuff first, and then we'll do the other stuff. And we have a whole list, and I think we can do like 2 minutes per thing.
Okay.
So, but let's start with Star Wars Skeleton Crew. If you are like one of the 5 people that watch our show regularly, we didn't have a show last week because it was on Christmas. Which sucked because there was a new episode of Skeleton Crew, and last week was episode 5. You have a lot to learn about pirates. And then episode 6, which is Zero Friends, I think, directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, by the way. So that was kind of cool. And I really liked last week's episode. It was a cool, like, you know what I love? There are certain genre pieces where there are bits of the formula that you expect, and it's part of the fun of watching them. Okay. A good example is like every heist movie is going to have your let's go get the team thing.
You got to assemble the team. You got to have your elaborate plan sequence.
Right. Yes.
And then you have the sequence where everyone walks into the hotel or the casino or whatever in their cool suits and pretty dresses, and they're all walking like badasses, and there's some cool music going in the background.
And they do the Ocean's 11 thing where they explain to you what their plan is, but it's actually happening in real time. And this show does a little bit of that, and it's always like there are some character archetypes that are not new. They're not novel at all, but just because it's kind of part of the fun of watching a story like this, certain things are coming, but when it happens, you're like, there it is, right?
A thing does not have to be new to be good.
Right, yeah. And I like also how we have they do this thing in shows and movies that have child casts where there's always like the one kid with asthma, and that's like generalizing it. I
can't see without my glasses.
There's always one kid that has, and it's almost all the time for some reason, literally always asthma. And I don't like fucking what was the movie where everyone gets to kill each other for a day?
The Purge?
Yeah. The first Purge movie with Ethan Hawke had this even. The kid had asthma, and I don't understand why. But this show has one of those, which is KB, who is, we learn a little bit more about her in episode 6. But in episode 5, a very predictable character moment for Jude Law, which, by the way, it's now wise to use his name because that character has so many different names that I can't really keep track of them.
Yeah, that's fair.
So let's start off.
Okay.
In one of the more funny bits in this episode and the show, by the way, the episode opens on Wendell at work, and he like, what does he do there?
I don't know.
He types at a computer. And of course they have like the Big Brother like security droids everywhere watching them and shit. And he's sitting there like typing away at his thing, and he's got his pocket protector.
And he looks at the elevator, and who should come in but fucking Neil's mom. Numa.
Yeah.
And they have a little one of those secretive meetings where they're both like look straight ahead, not looking at each other and talking about this. And Numa's like, yeah, look, in order to, send a collect call out past the barrier, we need a password. So here's a little thingy that you jam in your computer and it steals the password for us. So can you just do that?
Can you go do that? And he's like, well,
I don't think this is a good idea, but considering we have no other way to contact our children, I guess I have to.
You guys, that there are security droids everywhere, right? Like
they are literally always watching, even when I pee.
Yeah, there's one aimed at my desk right now, but you know what? Whatever. It's our kids. They could be in danger. I'm going to go do it. So he goes over and he plugs it in
and just pretends like he's not doing anything wrong.
Almost immediately, the security droid's like, "What the fuck is that guy doing over there?" And so he walks over and he's like, "Hey, there is a power surge from this workstation. What the fuck?" And he's like,
"I'm not doing nothing.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about." And he's like, "Get up, stand over here."
Yep, he stands up, holds his hands behind his back.
And then like a parent talking to their child is like, "What are you hiding behind your back?"
I'm not sure what you're referring to, Mr. Droid.
And then he says, "Let me see your hands."
Here's a hand.
And he's like, "Oh,
here's a hand."
And he just for a second, this droid loses his patience where he's like, "Show me both of your hands at the same fucking time." And it smash cuts to him in Undersecretary Karen's office, right, with a little device.
The droid's like,
the droid's like just telling on him. He's like, "And I found him, and he had this thing, and he tried to hold it behind his back, and he like thought this thing would work where like he'd hold it each with one hand and shit." And she's like, "Stop. Shut the fuck up, erase everything you just said from your memory, and get the fuck out of my office." And he's like, "I'll see you later, I guess." Which, by the way, now we know where Fern got this trick. I'm pretty sure it just came from her mom. And she's like, "Wendell, what the fuck are you doing?"
Like, I'm trying to call our fucking kids, but 1-800-CALL-ATT doesn't work under the barrier.
Oh, wow. What a 90s thing. So she's like, "Look, we have to do this like the official way, right?"
He's like, "Oh, how's that working out for you?"
I'm talking to the administrator where like I'm trying to get an audience or whatever. I'm putting it up the chain of command, and
Wendell's like, "Karen, I want you to look at me. I want you to look at me in the eyes when I say this. The administrator's not going to do dick.
Yeah. You can't ask to see the manager and just get your way in this situation." Which, by the way, and this isn't, by the way, we're into spoilers now.
Yeah.
And
if you couldn't tell,
I'm not saying this because this has been confirmed in the 2 episodes that we've seen, but like the administrator is the pirate, right?
Maybe
the missing pirate.
Depending on the time scale, it could be, but it also could be one of those that there is no administrator and the droids and the computer system just keep
it's the Wizard of Oz. Yeah. It's Jeff Goldblum behind a big machine.
What a fucking fake out that would be if Jeff Goldblum was in the show.
Yeah. Life finds a way. So he's like, "Okay, that's not going to work. So like we need to like do something else. Like we need to break the rules or something." And she's like, "Well,
you see, that's a problem because I've gotten to where I am in life by following the rules."
Yeah. And so have you, by the way.
Yeah.
Everyone literally on this planet. So on the Onyx Cinder.
We don't know that's its name yet. It's just the ship.
Yeah. Is that this episode that we find that out? Yeah.
It's in this scene that you're about to describe right now.
Yeah. Well, we're on the Onyx Cinder. And they're trying to wake KB up. Not KB.
33.
Yeah.
They're first tying him down.
Right. Well, because the last
time we saw 33, he was trying to rip the children apart limb from limb.
And I quote, limb from limb.
Yes.
And so they have him tied down with a bunch of ropes.
Yep. They've tied him down. He's still turned off. And they're like, okay, he has information we need, but also if we turn him on, he might try to kill us all. So we're kind of balancing our options here.
And then they pretty much land on, fuck it, turn him on.
Well, Jude Law walks in and says, well, why the fuck can't you turn him on? You're fucking scared. And Fern says, well, you're fucking scared. You turn him back on.
Yeah. And they have one of those you are moments.
I know you are, but what am I?
Right. So Fern's like, look, SM-33 is the only person who knows where AT-ATN is, despite him saying several times, and I quote,
can't say I
remember. No AT-ATN. So KB they wake him up, and KB does a little bit of computery shit. She reroutes his memory chip, and then they activate him. And SM-33 is like, I'm so sorry.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Yeah,
well, why you guys look so scared? It wasn't like I was trying to tear you limb from limb.
Yeah, and they're like, well, actually, you were. And he's like, that wasn't my fault.
Okay, look, that was the old captain.
The old captain, Tack Renard. Yeah, and
Jude Law's like, who?
He takes off his glasses. What? And he's like, oh yeah, this is the Onyx Cinder, and fucking Tack Renard is the
former captain.
Yeah, and the kids are like, what the fuck are you talking about?
That?
He's like,
Jude Law is like, he's only the most famous fucking pirate who ever lived.
He's the coolest pirate ever.
Yeah, he killed everybody and stole all their shit, and then went to look for AT-ATN one day and never came back.
Yeah.
So I guess this is his ship, the Onyx Cinder.
Yeah. I like how they can script SM-33's help, and he immediately just breaks out of the ropes.
Yeah, they're like, okay, you know where AT-ATN is, right? He's like, no, but I know where we can find the information. It's like, all right, cool, great. Take us there. And he's like, aye, Captain. Just sits up and breaks all the ropes.
Like he was being so polite, letting them tie him up and everything. So,
well, I think it was that nobody had ordered him to move anywhere yet. So he was like, yeah, I'm fine here.
I'll just lay here. It's fine. I don't care. I don't even care that I'm tied up. Fuck it. So, SM-33 tells them about Renard's betrayal by his crew and concubine. To which I think Wim asks, what is a concubine? And
Jude Law's like, I'll tell you when you're older.
That's not this kind of show, kid. We're not going to talk about it. And everyone died. That's how the story goes.
That's how the story ends.
And so SM-33 is like, we're going to Skull Ridge Mountain. Fucking.
It's a nice little detail. He mentions that I think Renard killed his first mate with a dagger, specifically.
The guy that was pinned to the wall.
Which is the same dagger that Jude Law now carries around.
So they're going to Skull Ridge Mountain. He's like, it's a terrifying pirate, the wasteland's lawless, and everyone who goes there,
And then they get down on the planet, and the fucking
first shit they see,
the police cars come down and say, hey, welcome to
the beautiful Lanupa. Yeah,
the neutral world of Lanupa.
Yeah.
Jude Law is like, you brought us to Lanupa?
Yeah. And he's like, it's not Lanupa, it's Skull Ridge Mountain, and the twisted peaks will destroy any ship, and so many have died here. And they're like, so, like, do you have the cops are like, so do you, like, are you going to the hotel, or like, what are you doing?
Jude Law's like, yeah, we're going to the hotel.
Yeah. And SM-33 is so beside himself.
He is so upset that they have turned this pirate hideout into a fucking tourist trap.
Into the White Lotus, pretty much. Like a ritzy. It's actually very like Canto Bight, Last Jedi Canto Bight. And they land the ship.
It's a fucking spa resort.
You're right. The mud spa specifically. They land the ship, and like there's a little entourage waiting, right? Like a hospitality entourage. And I think it's a really neat detail that like the ship barely lands on its own. And the second it touches down,
part falls off.
Yeah, like there's oil just like freely flowing from like something. And this
the lead lady in entourage turns to one of her assistants and says, call a fucking cleanup crew.
We need the mechanics over here right now.
Or the garbage people.
Before they flew in, by the way, because they're kids, everyone was screaming at each other while Jude Law was talking to the cops. And the cops were like, listen, if those are kids,
And I'm not saying they are, but if they are.
We don't do kids stuff here. So maybe, go away.
I mean, like Tuesday's orgy day, and, we don't really want kids around for
not
that.
Kid friendly,
so.
It's not Disney. That's not, yeah. And so their solution to this problem is that all the kids grab different articles from the dead pirates, and they cover their faces, and they put big cloaks and hats and shit on, and Jude Law introduces them as the elders from it's like Bratland or something. Like it literally has the word brat in it. And they make their entrance on the docking claw. Like they just like come down off of it
and hop off.
And so the hotel, I guess the hotel director obviously knows that
this is all bullshit.
And he's like, can I introduce you to my friend?
Before we get there, so they get waved down by the security wand people, right? And they take Jude Law's knife and they say, you're not allowed to have weapons here. And Jude Law's
like, it's a pocket knife. What the fuck, man?
It's a pocket knife the size of my forearm.
However, they are loading him up with like a drink and a lei and everything, and like
he's like, okay,
he takes one sip of what I assume is like a really strong drink. He's like, fuck, you know what? You can have the knife. This is fucking great.
They also put a restraining bolt on 33, and
so that there's no violence.
Yes, because people have tried to smuggle in droids as weapons before, and we don't want any of that. 33 is like, I'll show you.
There's several moments where SM33's the first place his mind goes is violence, and it's a problem for him because of his restraining bolt.
So they walk through the hotel and go to the lobby, and the boss lady is like, all right, look, let's be real here.
These are fucking kids.
Those are children.
Those are fucking kids.
You don't have a reservation. Why should I not call the cops?
Also, the banking clan is here.
Oh yeah,
and they're doing like a retreat or something.
So there's heightened security,
and they're specifically looking out for imposters. And you're clearly an imposter.
Jude Law is like, okay, look, let me introduce you to my companion's lunch money. Which is these priceless Old Republic dateries.
Sir, I think I have to call the cops. Well, what if you spoke to my friend $20? And she's like, ooh,
I love $20.
Shiny, gotta put that in there. Yep. I think I might have found your reservation. What do you fucking know? Yeah. And they go.
So Jude Law hands him like all of this money. And says, I would like you to upgrade us.
Well, not yet. Hold on, because they go through a couple. They go through a couple of these.
Rounds of that.
He finds a name he likes, and then he meets one of the many women in the universe that Jude Law has spurned.
Yes, or something.
Yeah, and she walks over. And she's a bounty hunter, and she's played by the voice actor that is the redheaded girl in Tangled, or not Tangled.
Okay.
The one with the redhead girl with the bow and arrow.
Oh, Brave.
Yeah, Brave, right, yeah. And she calls him by an entire like dash something or other. And the kids are like, dude, how many fucking names do you intend to have?
And Jude Law's like, hey, it's you.
Yeah.
And she's like, my name is Pocket, you turd.
Yeah. Polly. Yeah. Her name is literally Pocket.
Yes.
It's a little weird.
They've done some weird names.
Yeah. And it's like, okay,
like
that's fine.
Kim, which had like 7 letters.
Right. There's an H in there for some reason. Yeah.
Anyway, so Pocket, like she chats with him. So, there's totally no hard feelings here. I've advanced in my career. I'm an independent bounty hunter now.
And a very good one.
Yep. I work for a very high paying client.
Yeah. Which is no concern to you because you probably don't have a bounty.
Absolutely not.
And even if you did, it's fine.
We were such good friends back then.
I'm here on vacation. I'm not checking my phone. And so I'm sure that everything will be just fine.
Also, to those children that you are very unconvincingly hiding behind
you. I think you mean the wise elders.
The wise elders of Bratislava or whatever. Don't trust this fucking guy. I'm going to go over here and sip my drink. Y'all have a real nice
and
day.
Stare at you all. Yeah. And so the hospital...
And just memorize the room that you're going into for no reason at all.
Yeah, the hotel director is like, okay, that was weird. So I require more money. And he's like, you just have all of it.
Yes.
Please don't tell anyone about this. And I want a fucking feast.
The nicest suite you got.
Yeah. There will be a rub down with a happy ending at some point in this. If it's in the mud bath, wouldn't prefer that. But if that's all you got, that's fine.
Yeah.
So let's go. All the kids are like, what does hand job mean? What? I love, so really though, a good like storytelling shtick that they use is the fact that them just being kids would make them like clueless, and they wouldn't know what a concubine is, but they're kids from a planet where no one ever leaves. And they don't like all the shit they have access to. Like they don't have the internet or anything, and so they're like there's another layer of them just being like entirely clueless, and so they have no idea what's going on. So they go on a tour around the spa, and SM33
is just outraged every time he sees some amenity that's put on top of where pirate shit should be.
I think they go up to their room, right? And it's a real fucking nice room.
Yep.
All the kids, they've never been in a place like this before in their lives. And Jude Law is he's like, guys.
He's desperately trying to keep his shit together because he is terrified.
You don't understand the immediate danger that we're in. Because look, I know that what she said was she wasn't looking at her phone and not to worry, she wouldn't call the bounty in. What she meant was she hates my fucking guts, and the first chance she gets, she's telling on us.
Yes.
And they're like too busy having a pillow fight.
A literal pillow fight.
Right. And there's for a second, Jude Law is like, I'm just going to shoot myself, I think. I don't like kids.
So the plan is this. SM33 says, okay, Captain Renard hid his logs in his secret cave, which has protected by a sigil that looks like this.
He scratches it like into a real expensive fucking table, by the way, and you're like, that's going to go in the bill.
It's fine. They're not staying for checkout.
Right.
So they're like, okay, Jude Law is like, okay, we need to split up and go find this fucking cave, like right the fuck now. So like, I'm going to go down in the fucking caves where it's really humid, and fucking KB is like, well, I can't go down there. Actually, it'll corrode all my robot parts. He's like,
shit.
fine.
Yeah.
You don't go down there. You can search
somewhere else. I don't give a fuck.
Fucking Neil and Fern, come on.
And then like Neil's like, well, I want to go with Wim. And he's like,
oh my God.
Oh my God.
Do you not understand that there are people with guns coming to shoot us?
I think the group composition they end up on is Fern, SM33, and Wim are going to go to the spa. Jod, KB, and Neil will go somewhere
check
else.
out other stuff.
Yeah, other stuff, and look for the carving or whatever.
Yep.
So they look around. Fern finds the sigil beneath a plinth, like in the spa.
So like her group finds this pipe that they go follow, and Jude Law's group is looking at a bunch of signs carved into a wall, and they're trying to find the right one.
So Jude Law is accosted by a security. So he's like, what's your name? And he's like, I don't know. I'm the name that
Dr. Bashir,
the name on my reservation. And he's like, you mean the guy from Scipio, who all the people there, by the way, are all Munes with their big fucking tall heads and shit. Darth Plagueis. And he's like, my mom was a human.
Shit.
Okay, run.
Run.
Yeah. And they have a little chase scene. And
somewhere in the middle of all this, Pocket calls Captain Brutus.
Brutus.
Hey, Jude Law's here. You give me my fucking money. And Brutus is like, yeah, I'm gonna send 2 ships over there. We'll fucking catch.
Yeah, I'll pay you when I have Jude Law. And so they do a little chase through the spa. There is a bit where there's a hut, and there's a little dude that's like serving him.
Yeah, it's a little frog creature, brings up a hover tray and bows. The hut just kind of grabs him
and like puts him in his mouth.
He's like, oh, not again.
Which, by the way, how many times has this happened?
Because the frog guy says not again.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder. Maybe this is the start of a romance or something. Maybe this is some weird hut. You know, when we did that tabletop RPG. By the way, Sundays 7:00 p.m. Central. The Star Wars one we did, there was someone who was a Hutt, like bounty hunter or whatever.
Hutt Jedi, yes.
Who I think went and like did a deep dive of the Wikipedia entry on huts. We should ask him what the mating practices, because this very well could be like a thing. Like maybe they're married now.
You know, what happens between two consenting adults is none of my problem.
That's the problem. Was I'm not sure he was consenting. There seemed to be a load of consent lacking.
Yeah.
So they stop. They get kind of cornered, right? And KB threatens him with a wrench.
Brandishes her wrench, and the husband was like, "What the fuck are you gonna do?" With
Even
that?
Jude Law laughs, right? And he's like, "Fucking kids, am I right?"
And she fucking ratchets the pipe next to her, and it splurts a bunch of mud, and 3 of the security guards go over the cliff, and I'm like, holy shit, she just killed those guys. But no, they actually just fell into a little puddle.
Meanwhile, Wim and Fern they go into the thing, and they meet Cathalops, who's obviously a Cthulhu, thing,
but also a total bro.
Yeah, he's just down there like having a good time.
Because like by the time Jude Law and company get down there, that like
they're all hanging out.
Yeah, Wim's just sitting there telling Cathalops stories, and Cathalops is having the time of his life.
Yeah, because like when they're like, please don't kill us, and he's like, I wasn't going to.
Yeah, you got any cool stories?
Yeah, like, tell me how your day's been.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, actually, it's been a really weird last few days, and he's like,
fucking
let's hear it.
Yeah, I'm sitting right here.
And that's where they discover them. They're just sitting there telling them about their adventures. And he's like, dude, you have had a rough last couple of days. Like, what the fuck? And Jude Law is like, what is that? Like, step away from the monster. I don't care. Like, he eats you, whatever the fuck. And he's like, no, this is our friend Cathalops, and he's going to open the fucking thing for us. And so
he fucking grabs
swings his tail.
And,
and he's like, see you guys.
Yeah, have a good time.
Like, I think he like puts one of them down there, and he's like, dude,
like, tell me how it turns out.
If you can swing back on your way back home, and like let me know, or just fucking call me, tell me what happens. And they're like, you know what, we'll see.
We'll do.
But now they found themselves in the lair, the beginning of the lair to Renard's
which is full of booby traps, and only 33 knows the way. And he's like, okay, listen very carefully. I need you to follow.
Click. And everyone stops, and they're like, what the fuck? And while he's trying to explain to them not to do anything stupid, not to move anywhere stupid, Neil has stepped on a plate.
Yes.
And he's like, oh, fuck.
One of the kids looks at a fucking skeleton over there. It looks like he was decapitated. Yep. Like, decapitated. And these lasers fucking sweep out, and like 33 and Jude Law duck. The kids are just short enough. It goes right above their hair. And 33 is like, okay.
Neil takes his foot off the plate, and he's like, I'm so sorry.
As I was about to explain, don't step anywhere. Just follow exactly where I step, and do not touch anything.
Right. They have a little argument. Jude Law is like, I'm going to go to the back of the line, because then you will all die first.
Fern is like, no, actually, we have a deal. You're supposed to get us back home. And Jude Law is like,
okay,
fine. I'll be in the middle so that only half of you will die.
So they get to. Oh, by the way, Brutus has arrived. I like how they do the gag where like the pirate ships pull up, and they're flying over the nice mountains, and then the cops show up, and they're like, "Hi, welcome to Space Switzerland. We're neutral." They just destroy them. Like they land on the landing pad, and one of them just like lands on top of another ship, and and that poor the hospitality director is like,
oh my god,
what a day this has been. So
they're going through the cave. The bounty hunters and the security people are also going through the cave, and they have a couple run-ins. So
that one guy gets fucked. Yeah. The one security guy, he finds a
hover trap,
like a gravity trap. Yeah, and he gets they don't show it, but
he gets shot and stumbles backwards into it, and then goes up into.
And the camera pans around, and it's Gunther, the Steve Urkel dude. He's like So
eventually the good guys get to this room that has a bunch of liquid in it.
Yeah.
And KB is like, that's not water. SM33 dips his little toesy in there, and it starts melting.
He's like, ow, it's fucking acid.
Yeah. So they shine their lights around. They see there's this inscription on the ceiling that he who seeks heaven must make the greatest sacrifice or something like that. And all the kids are like, oh my god, we have to kill somebody. And Jude Law is like, you fucking idiots, you don't know anything about pirates.
Pirates don't give a shit about
they don't give a shit about life.
They kill indiscriminately.
They care about money.
Which is a problem, because Jude Law gave all their lunch money to the manager lady, and I think one of them ends up having one left.
It's not credit, it's this little green gem or something.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, they toss it in.
Yeah, they toss it in, and somehow that works, and it just drains all the acid.
I like the detail that there are like skeletons in the bottom of the and they follow the door down,
and because they hear the bounty hunters.
Oh, they're like right behind.
Yeah,
them,
so they all run down and get in there.
They close the door. And they're looking. I think they lock the door, but they know it's not going to keep the Brutus's guys out for very long, and so they're looking around for like a data port.
Yeah, Jude Law is like, okay, look, we need to find the USB port. Do not touch anything,
don't touch
because
anything.
Everything in this room is probably booby trapped.
Yeah.
And they're like, what's a USB port?
Yeah.
He's like, oh my god, it's a thing that SM33 can stick his little robo penis in.
Yeah.
Okay,
and they're like, okay. So they start looking around, and there's Wim sees a lightsaber on a little table, and he's like, and they're like, no, bad, don't touch that.
And Neil, bless his heart, says, hey, look, all the food on this table is rotten, but that roast looks incredibly
good.
fresh.
Yeah, it looks real good.
Maybe if I just lean over here and put my hand on the stool, and oh god, there's a trap door there.
Yeah, so the stool was a trap.
Yes. Jude Law's like, okay, let's all just calm down. I'll do it. He flips the roast up, presses the little switch, and out pops this little data port, and 33 goes over and jams his little robot penis in there.
Bounty hunters are banging on the door.
Yes.
They're almost through. And Jude Law's like, 33, do you have access to all the controls to the traps? And he's like, yep. He's like, you think what I'm thinking is like, oh yeah, I'm already there. And they refill the vat of acid with the bounty hunters in it. And you hear them screaming through the door.
This is unexpectedly brutal.
Yeah.
I did not see that coming.
And like, you don't even see it, and you're like, oh, that's terrible.
Like, the kids are like, Jesus fucking Christ, dude.
So there's a hologram of Rened who's talking about AT-AT and shit, and how he found AT-AT.
He found it, and these are the coordinates, and it's the last remaining Old Republic mint.
Yeah.
And the kids are like, what's a mint? And Fern's like, oh yeah, that's where they make money.
Right.
I guess we do make money on AT-AT, don't we?
And like Jude Law starts piecing together.
The wheels are turning in his head.
It isn't treasure, it's a treasure maker, which is, I think, better.
Probably better, yeah. So he's just sort of, sitting there staring at the chair, calculating, and Fern is like, we have a deal, right?
You're not gonna you're not about to betray us.
You take us home and you get a reasonable reward out of this, and right?
He's like, well, I would like the thing that makes the rewards. So
instead, I challenge Captain Fern for supremacy
per the pirate code. And like 33 is like, he's right,
dude.
I'm not happy about it, but
nobody likes a rules lawyer. Yeah. Come on,
I gotta follow the pirate code though. Yep. And so he challenges Fern.
And Fern is like, dude, I'm 12 years old. What the hell?
So the two outcomes are you fight and die, or you yield.
So Jude Law is like, look, just
yield.
Just yield.
I'm a grown fucking man. Yeah. You're a child. Just yield.
Just yield. We can go about our way.
Yeah.
Like, none of this has to get unpleasant.
And Fern's eye twitches, and she's like, oh, hell no.
And she like grabs this fire poker or something, starts swinging it at him. And he just bats it out of his hand, pulls out this knife, and is like, okay, look, we're done here. Just fucking yield. Yeah. And we can go on about our day.
One of the best moments in all of Star Wars then happens, where there's this heroic swell of music. You look over, and Wim has Chekhov's lightsaber, and he takes this, like, just like in his fucking comics, he takes the stance.
Jude Law's like, dude, I would.
You think? By the way,
make sure you know what you're doing.
By the way,
this is not like your fucking comic books.
Do you think that he saw which way he was holding it and was like, "Oh God"? Because Wim turns it on and it's upside down.
Yeah, the blade goes in the floor,
and he like immediately drops it, and then they're like, "Oh, what do we do?" And then he immediately joins the other huddling children. Right?
I think Jude Law was just completely confident in his ability to deal with that situation, no matter what.
On my second watch through of it, it's very plain that he's holding it upside down, right? I wasn't looking at it closely when I was watching it the first time, but you would think that someone trained would be like, it'd be like if someone was holding a gun backwards, right? You'd be like, oh, okay, don't do that. And someone's great idea, I think it's Neil, right? Who's like, you know what? Fuck it, we're out of here, and he hits the seat.
So first, Fern is like, all right, I guess I don't have any choices. I yield. And Jude Law's like, great. I'm the captain now, right? 33 is like, yep, you're the captain.
Yes, but you're an asshole and I don't like you.
Jude Law's like, okay, as my first order as your new captain, I want you to arrest those 4 children.
Put them in the brig.
On charges of mutiny against their captain. And 33 is like, I guess.
Yeah.
And Neil's like, actually, we're just going to leave now.
Fuck
Bye.
that. We're out of here, yeah.
And they take the fucking tube.
The episode ends with Jude Law looking over at the lightsaber, using the Force, grabbing it, and then being like, oh, I'm going to turn this motherfucker on, and then credits, right? Good episode.
Yeah.
This leads directly into episode 6,
Yes.
Zero Friends, which I did not write any notes down for, and I just saw it this morning because the place where I get these episodes didn't have the episode posted until like 1 a.m. this morning.
Oh, wow.
So we open with the kids falling down
falling
tunnels.
through the tube.
Yeah,
it's a lot like fucking Luke at the end of Empire Strikes Back going through the tubes.
Yeah,
they're just sliding and they separate and then they all get shot up the chutes at the bottom of the mountain. And
they're at the bottom of the mountain and they're immediately surrounded by a bunch of little crab things.
Well, first they'd have to pull themselves together and KB's having some trouble.
Oh, KB is right. Like
she's not having a good time.
Right. I think it's interesting. She in the previous episode she didn't want to go to the
spa because the humidity would corrode her shit.
And she ended up in the spa anyway.
Yeah.
And so I think that she starts suffering the consequences of that, which is that her Augs, her augments.
And Fern is like, all right, don't worry, I can deal with this. We're just gonna roll her on her side and I'll just fuck around with some stuff in her head and she'll be fine.
Yeah, splash some water on her face, she'll be fine. And it revives her a bit, but she's still like there's still something kind of wrong with her.
So the kids are talking and they're like, okay, things could be worse. They could be better, but they could be worse. So good news is KB has the coordinates in her head. Right.
She's like, I saw.
She
I remember.
Take us to AT-AT.
Yeah.
That's no problem. The bad news is the ship is all the way up there and we're all the way down here.
We're all exactly 3 feet tall.
So Fern's idea is we'll just fucking climb up the mountain.
Climb the mountain, yeah.
No
very, Fern has a very brute force kind of attitude toward everything.
Like, we're here. The ship is there. Draw a straight line. We just go up the mountain.
It turns out the fastest way between 2 points is a straight line.
KB is like, that's a dumb fucking idea.
Yeah. And this is a part of the episode. There's a little bit of manufactured conflict here.
A little bit.
I understand that they need a little conflict in the friend group, right? I think they started off with plenty. The fact that they were both trying to get to the ship when they were still on AT-AT and this like friction between Wim and Fern both trying to, be, the guy in charge and everything.
So the deal here is that KB doesn't feel like Fern really listens to her.
Right. And considers that she has a disability pretty much.
Like she has all these cool robot parts, but sometimes those break down or need maintenance.
Right. And so they have a little fight. By the way, this clearly was supposed to be a part of the previous episode. And in fact, if you were to chop off the credits of the last episode, put this one on, this follows the typical friends have an argument at the beginning of the third act trope and everything pretty much. And then they make up at the end. Right. So this is another instance of Disney cutting episodes in a really stupid way. Like this could have been an hour-long episode that would have been a good story from start to finish, where it was really cohesive. It would have followed a perfect 3-act structure, but they had to get more episodes out, so they cut it. And now we have this weird 20-minute episode that nothing really happens except for the thing that should have been the big the big conclusion of them being on this planet. That's all I'll bitch about it. I'm tired of these 20-minute episodes.
So there's these little garbage crabs that are droids or crabs with the droids and crabs attached.
They are crab droids.
Okay. So
and they repeat everything you say for some reason. Yeah. Because
so
fuck not.
So Wim has this idea. Hey, well, let's just fucking follow the crab droids and they can find us a way up. And Wim's like, that's a dumb fucking idea. Let's climb the mountain. Wim's like, no, I'm gonna not climb the mountain.
Yeah. Fern, I'm tired of your bullshit.
KB is like, you know what? I am also tired of Fern's bullshit. Let's follow the crab droids.
Yeah.
And Fern is like, all right, fuck it, Neil, let's go climb the mountain. And Neil's like, okay.
I don't like it when you guys fight. Which, by the way, I like how Wim's first instinct is always just to immediately trust the first thing that comes along. He's like, oh, crabs, they're great.
It's a combination of that and his natural inclination to not do what Fern wants to do.
just to be a contrarian, yeah.
So the kids split up and they go their separate ways. Is this the point when we jump to Jude Law?
Well, Jude Law is like pulling out of the
So Jude Law is like climbing up this ladder to the fucking spaceport. He pops the hatch. He's covered in all these gold chains.
Oh, he is
having the time of his life.
You can he like dusts himself off and he's like, and like the hotel manager's like, what the fuck? And he's like, oh, I know, it looks really good.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
I need my ship refueled and ready for immediate departure. I'm not checking out. I don't have any baggage, so I just need to go right now.
Someone carved something into a table in our room that was there when we got there. I have no idea what the fuck that is. I would like to go now, please.
And then all the bounty hunters show up, and he's like, well, fuck. 33, I would like you to punch all these people.
And he's like,
oh yeah, Captain. And he gets EMP shot.
Like, you don't even see him until he gives him the order to fight, and he jumps out of that fucking hole.
Aye, Captain.
And he's ready to go. It's like, he said the magic word. And I love how Jude Law couldn't have been happy with just covering himself in jewels and jewelry. He had to cover 33 as well. Like, he had to like get out as much as he could. And they hit him with an ion shot, and he's immediately disabled. And it turns out that Gunther somehow survived the acid thing.
I guess he sent his goons in first or something.
Well, that's the thing, is that you hear him scream at Jod.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or I think he's like, "Damn you, Captain Silva," or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how he got out, but he got out. He's fine. And so they take him prisoner and throw him on the fucking ship, and
they're about to leave. But then some X-Wings show up. And they fucking swoop down and start shooting at the pirate ships. And
there is, I think I've mentioned this before, there is a sound that X-Wings make that is an instant dopamine hit for me. It's the sound of their engines. And the zap, 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 because their blasters, the X-Wing laser cannons, make a very distinctive zap sound. Yep. And it takes me back to when I was a kid, when I was watching the original trilogy, or when I was playing the first Rogue Squadron game on N64 and shit. Like, I hear that and I'm just like, oh, I need some more of that. Like, give me some of that.
Yep.
And
so they blow up the small pirate ship.
They show up, by the way, without asking any questions, and just start firing on people. It's like, oh, they're probably cops. You can tell they're cops. And like, just thank God these are pirates, by the way, and not just like a random ship trying to leave or anything. They have a conversation. I think Wim and KB are watching all this happen. And Wim's like, oh, I thought that they were like, are they the bad guys or are they the good guys?
Those are the same guys that Kim called in.
Yeah.
I thought they were the bad guys. And KB's like, no, actually, Jude Law told us they were bad guys. So they're probably actually good guys.
Yeah. Plus, they're X-Wings. X-Wings are always good guys.
Yeah.
Haven't you seen a fucking Star Wars? Like,
so they fucking chase, hey, we're down here. And the X-Wings chase the other.
Which, by the way, I don't know. They're like at least 500 meters in the air. So, of course, they don't like see or hear them. But those X-Wings, they get there and they're like, oh, no, we're here to fuck shit up.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's all of the X-Wing pilots that we've met in the post Return of the Jedi shows, they're just like the patrol guys, all kind of seem like doofuses. But then when they're in it, like, they're all like good pilot, like pretty good pilots. And you can be a pretty good pilot in an X-Wing and still outclass, because it's such a cool, such a good ship, like a good fighter. So I just like how they just start blasting people away. It's like, all right, this is what I came to see.
So Fern and Neil are climbing up this ladder, and Fern is like, Neil, it's not that fucking hard. You just fucking climb. And Neil's like, well, I don't have your big long spider legs, Fern. Not everyone can do things the way you can.
I have little elephant feet. I don't even have opposable thumbs. What the fuck? I like how he calls her spider. Like, I suppose another alien species that doesn't have legs as long as us would think that they look unnaturally long. Yeah.
Long and spindly.
Yeah.
And Fern just kind of looks off to the side and sees this thing with a rope on it. She's like, interesting.
we'll come back to this.
Yeah. So we cut back to Wim and KB, and Wim is, chatting with KB like he does. He's like, hey, why are you upset with Fern? Because, I'm just always mad at Fern. Why are you mad at her?
I don't like her because she's a bitch. What's your problem, KB?
KB's like, well, she doesn't really ever listen to me. And like, she always seems to think that I can do anything that she can do, even though like I have these robot parts that need maintenance sometimes and don't really do well in moist environments. And oh God, I'm slowing down. I think my robot parts are wearing out.
Yeah.
So she like kind of sits down on the ground and Wim is like, well, shit.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah. She's like, okay, listen carefully. I need you to pull open my head.
What?
just get back there. Just pull open my head. You pull out a little tray there.
Crack my skull open.
Yep. There's this little metal rod in there.
Unplug a part of my brain.
I need you.
And Wim's like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
No.
I was like, okay, I need you to pull that out. Give me that little metal rod. All right, cool. I'm gonna,
she fashions a little like
a little mold in the
metallurgy mold. Yeah.
She just pulls that out. She's like, okay, I need you to go grab some droid parts from that trash heap. And he's like, okay, gotcha.
Go get all the copper wire.
Brings it back and like she has a cup. She puts all the wire in there. She says, all right, I need you to take this torch out of my belt and I need you to melt all those wires. All right, cool. Now I need you to pour that molten metal into this little hole.
I'm just waiting for her to be like, I saw this on YouTube. Everything will be fine.
Yeah. So he does. And she's like, okay, now I need you to take that little thing out of the mold and plug it into my head right where it was.
Yeah, the entire time Wim is just trying not to piss himself.
Wim is freaking the fuck out, and KB is just getting increasingly more and more sleepy.
By the way, you cannot get this clean a pore and mold.
No.
By pouring molten metal into the beach.
No, absolutely not.
That is not how that works.
That is the least believable part of this episode.
I appreciate that Wim blew it off a little bit before he stuck it back in her head, but that also would not have mattered.
Yeah. So he sticks it back in the tray, sticks everything back in her head, closes everything up, and Fern is just kind of leaning over, getting real sleepy. And Wim is like, oh my God, I think I killed her.
Oh no.
And then Fern just reboots.
KB.
So, sorry, KB.
Yeah. You don't know if it was Fern, he'd be like, just fucking die. Okay.
Yeah. KB just, all right, cool, I'm good to go. She's like,
jumps right up. Yeah.
Wait, what? She's like, yeah, thanks for saving my life, dude. Yep. Let's go follow these fucking trash crabs.
Drama over.
Yep. Everything's fixed.
Yeah. So they follow the crabs and they run into a crab monster that wants to eat them.
Yes.
Big surprise because Wim trusts the first thing that comes along. Didn't even occur to him that maybe he shouldn't just run blindly into a situation and trust that an adult will be there to save them.
Meanwhile, Fern and Neil are still climbing up this cliff. Fern, like, they have tied their waists together so she can kind of pull Neil along while they're climbing. It's kind of cute.
Yeah, it's like you half learned the lesson, but you're still being kind of an asshole.
Yeah. So they look up and they see that there's these garbage barges, like taking shit and dumping it in the fucking resort dump, and like 4 of them have grabbed their ship and are taking it down to the dump.
Yeah, their ship is trash now.
Yeah. And they're like, well, shit, we're gonna fucking jump on top of that. And Neil's like, we're gonna, whoa!
Yeah.
And they jump off and land on the fucking barge.
On one of the barges, yeah. Yep. And they find a little convenient joystick to fly it around.
Fern's flying it around, and they swoop over and pick up Wim and KB. And they all manage to get back onto their ship, which has been deposited, in the trash heap. And bad news, the trash heap has its own disposal system, which is this big claw that looks like a mouth. And
eats everything.
Yeah, it smelts it down. We should cut back to Jude Law at this point.
Oh, right, yeah, because he's got some drama too, which is that he's on trial.
He's at pirate court.
Yeah, which
is not a good place to be.
Yeah, but also good for them for actually there's a little bit of order here.
Yeah, but they have the pirate code.
They have rules.
I mean, if they didn't have rules, they would just be probably killing each other all the time.
The whole thing
that's not very good for profit.
The whole thing is a formality.
Yes.
Brutus is like, oh, I'm going to kill this
Brutus has decided that Jude Law is going to die, and he's going to die by airlock.
Yes. He's like, you're guilty. Big surprise, I know. Throw his ass out the airlock.
Yes.
And
Jude Law just kind of sits there for a minute, and one of these pirates is like, I guess we have to follow the code to the letter of the law. So he gets his last request.
Yeah. Well, Jude Law also has apparently a sympathizer among the pirates who there's someone who some woman looks visibly like, oh, I kind of don't throw him out. Okay, I liked him. Mm-hmm. That sucks. And he's like, well, no, I got to do a speech. And he's like, no, fucking out the airlock. And she's like, well, it's the rules.
The code says he gets a speech. So.
And Brutus is sitting there weighing like,
do I actually want to let him talk?
Well, you just like, you can see it going through. He's like, I can just shoot him right now. I have 5 fucking guns on my chest.
I can just fucking shoot him.
I could just, and he's like, no.
Nope. I sentenced him to death by airlock. Yeah. He has to die by the airlock.
Right. Go on.
All right, fine. and Jude
no
Law,
rousing speeches.
So Jude Law gives a speech about how, I've been fucking hungry my whole life, and haven't you been hungry, and how long have you been hungry, and we're all fucking hungry because we can't get enough money because
there's the one guy like chomping down on ramen. He's like, I'm good. I'm fine.
Like we can't get enough money because there's not enough money in the galaxy. But what if I told you that there's a planet where we can get all of the money?
Yeah, and then just keep making more.
Just make as much money as we fucking want. And the pirates would be like, that actually sounds kind of cool. Like that, I do like money. That's why I became a pirate. So.
Sold.
Yeah. So
even Brutus is like, damn, are you serious?
So Jude Law is like, all right, look, y'all just follow me and we'll go to this planet I know of where we can make unlimited money and we'll all be rich forever.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, he name drops Rened. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, but he fucking died. And he's like, no. And he sings a little song. And he's like, the song says that he disappeared and no one ever saw him again.
Which is not the same as dying.
Which is the administrators fucking ran it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
All right. So Brutus is like, all right, look, you get one chance. We're going to go to this planet you're telling us about. And if there's not infinite money there, you're going out the airlock.
Yeah.
And Jude Law is like, you know what? It's better than going out the airlock right fucking now. So let's go.
This is where we get a little glimpse at Jude Law's superpower, which is he can bullshit anyone to death. Mm-hmm. He really has a like Han Solo levels.
Even more than the Force.
Yeah.
That's his special power. So the kids are on the ship. They're desperately trying to get it to take off before, the trash compactor eats them. Yeah. And like KB is like, I know what? I'll go start the engines. Neil, you fucking fly the ship. Neil's like, I don't know how to fucking fly the ship. He's like, no, you did it.
You did it already.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
And he's like, I almost crashed. Like, I shouldn't have been flying this ship.
Fern is like, it's fine. I'll be right here with you. I'll help you. So KB runs off to start the engines, and the trash compactor is getting close to them, and Wim is like, I know, I'll go shoot it. And he runs into the gun turret and starts shooting.
I think he just wanted an excuse to go to the gun turret.
He just wanted to help.
He's like, if I'm going to die, I would prefer to die in the gun turret.
So they get the ship started and try to take off, but like the trash compactor has grabbed it and started to eat it. And they're like, well, shit, this isn't working. What about that button up there that 33 told us to never, ever press?
The
emergency
blower upper thing.
Okay.
The thing I love about this moment is that Fern looks over at Neil, and they both share this moment where you realize that they both realize that this isn't a game anymore and that they are going to die. Right. Like this, it's not fun and games anymore. This is a dire situation and someone needs to make a decision about what to do. And the decision, the options that are present, none of them are very good. Mm-hmm. Like they don't know what the button does exactly. And it is just as likely that it will kill them as getting eaten by the trash thing.
Yeah.
And there's this moment of like legit fear that is well acted on Fern's actor's part, where they just look at each other and she's like, this is not kid stuff. This is like, we are facing death right in the face.
Shit has gotten real.
And they need someone to make this call. And this is Fern's job. She's archetype on the team.
Yep.
And she makes the call. She's like, someone's got to do it. I'll fucking do it. And she does it. And you can tell she's scared. She's not excited to do it, but she's like, what else are we going to fucking do? And this ship, the Onyx Cinder, just sheds the front part of its junk.
It just sheds like this layer of armor that it was having over the entire ship. And like the back part just pulls out.
And it looks like a brand new ship.
Yeah.
It's like shiny. Yeah.
Pulls out and takes off. And as they fly out of view, Wim is like, claims he's on the new ship.
Yeah. Wim is such an idiot.
Yeah.
I like the visual way they do that, by the way. When she hits the button and all the little explosions go off from back to front. It's like pa 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 pa. And like they go around Wim in the turret. And he's like, what is happening? Yeah. And so everyone, I guess, now is on their way to Ad-Atten. Now,
so this is an 8-episode show, right?
Yes.
So
we have 2 more.
So presumably a 2-part conclusion.
Yeah. Now, I remember a bunch of people. So we had that one episode on at Akron.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all expected to be on that planet for another episode. Because didn't it feel like the big turbo laser on the roof of the thing was like Chekhov's turbo laser a little bit? I don't think we're going back there. And I'm not sure if there's a part of the story that they just cut out from that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because now that we're going forward in the story, we're not going back to Ad Akron, I don't think, which makes that episode, other than just the teeny bit of exposition we've gotten, which by the way is exposition we could have gotten when we were hanging out with Owl Lady. Mm-hmm. Like it could have been like, oh, and there's Ad Akron, and they've, it's just like Ad-Atten, except it's all tore up now. Right? Like it could have been like a 1-sentence exposition thing.
Could have been.
Not sure why they did a whole episode there. And now in retrospect makes it even more kind of stupid.
I'm going to reserve judgment until I see the end.
Yeah. I guess they could go back to, or I don't know, maybe those kids show up in a bunch of ships and they're like, we're here to save the day. And they strap the turbo laser onto one of the ships. So yeah, it's 2 more episodes. Overall, I know I've bitched about the episode length in that particular episode, but I've been a fan for most of it. I think a lot of it's been really good. I think Wim is still my favorite character, just because we would have been friends. I'm like that's like the person I would have been friends with.
I think I'm tied between KB and Neil. I
like both of them a lot. I don't like Fern very much. Yeah. I think it's because there's a part of me. And I don't know, you might, know me well, so you might know this about me. I do not like being told what to do. Like, I really do not like being told what to do. And she loves telling people what to do. She's very bossy, and I cannot handle that.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay, so.
Time for the good, the bad, the good, the great, and the fucking terrible?
Yes, we have closed the book on the year 2024. Mm-hmm. And it's been a whirlwind of things happening and movies we've seen and shows we've seen and other stuff not relating to any of this that we're not even going to talk about, because I feel like there was at least one part of 2024 that was a huge blow to the face for a lot of people. And so we're going into 2025 not really sure what the shape of the world is going to be like in the next several years.
Bad.
Yeah.
It's going to be bad.
And so how are we going to deal with that? I don't know. And we're not going to think about it, because instead what we're going to do is we're going to look at all the shit that we saw in 2024, whether it be there are shows that we saw, there are shows here that I saw that you didn't see, movies that we saw in theaters. I have a couple of video games that related to Star Wars. And this is our annual, the good, the great, and the fucking terrible.
And those are our only options. Good, great, fucking terrible. There's no gray areas here.
And we'll talk about each one of these a little bit. If there is something on the list that I missed that relates to nerdom or science fiction fantasy or whatever, that you saw that it wasn't on the list, put it in the comments.
Put it in the comments.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Otherwise, we're moving on.
All right, what do we got?
First on the list, and this is in no specific order. I just kind of, as I thought of them, I kind of typed it up. Deadpool and Wolverine.
Ooh, great.
This was the great as well. I think this is the newest, kind of the newest offering in the MCU.
The first R-rated MCU movie.
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun.
They made use of that R rating. They made very good use of it.
If you're gonna make an MCU movie R-rated, fucking make it Deadpool.
Yeah.
And it's the whole, the villain was interesting. The stupid cameos with Blade and which by where
Channing Tatum's Gambit,
right? Which never actually existed. It was just a fan like, it's just like seeing Ryan Reynolds and Wesley Snipes on screen together after knowing their intensely infamous beef with one another, and them like making a joke out of it. I've never actually really liked you, and like, oh, or whatever the fuck he says. I think my favorite line from that movie was in the middle of the battle, Channing Tatum's
Ooh, they about to make a
yeah. I'm about to make a name for myself. Yeah. Probably my favorite line in the whole thing.
Fucking Chris Evans is Johnny Storm.
Yeah, and
Torch.
the deleted scene where you find out that he actually says all this shit. That was a good. And you know what? Underneath all of the ridiculousness,
it was a good
movie. There's some really touching scenes, and the whole thing was great. I thought it was. I watched it. It was a lot of fun.
Yes, great.
This is one that I think I've seen and you have not seen. Okay. And this was just like last week. I binged it. I think in like 2 days, and it's an anthology show called Secret Level, which every episode has it's
about different video games.
Yes, and it's very a la Love, Death, and Robots, which also is amazing. If you've not seen Love, Death, and Robots, it is fucking amazing. And each episode is based on a video game IP. Yep. Some of them haven't even come out yet. One of them hasn't even come out yet. And
I've heard there is a level based on or episode based on Concord, which is a game that came out, was supposed to be this ongoing live service and was canceled like a month after.
There is, yes. There's a Pac-Man one. And all the episodes are great. Okay. They have these deeper philosophical issues, and the animation is gorgeous. It's so good. And great. Fucking great. I thought it was great. By the way, there aren't many fucking terribles on this list. And so if you've come here to see us shit on a bunch of stuff, it's probably not gonna happen. All right. I said that.
Okay.
Because we're gonna talk about the next thing. I don't know, just do a quick preface.
Okay.
I don't give a fuck what you think about this particular show. And I don't care about hearing your regurgitated opinion you got from a YouTuber or whatever. Just shut the fuck up. I don't care. Star Wars: The Acolyte. Good. A solid good. Yes. And that is perhaps its biggest crime.
It definitely has flaws, but they're not the flaws that all the worst people in the world are screaming about. Right. Some of the pacing is kind of weird.
Pacing is fucking weird.
The editing was very strange, like how they chopped up episodes.
The mystery was not very interesting.
Yeah.
It was like boilerplate mystery, right?
All that said, what we actually got was pretty darn good.
Performances were amazing.
Acting was great. Manny Jacinto was great. Lee Jung-jae is great. Carrie-Anne Moss is always great.
Yeah. The good action, fucking lightsaber fights galore in the one episode.
There's a little bit of hand-to-hand combat.
A lot of hand-to-hand, Like half of the action is hand-to-hand. And I saw a couple of clips from this the other day in my I think it was in my Facebook Reels, and I'll never there's like one specific moment in this show where it's during the Khmer and Master Soul duel, where Khmer throws his lightsaber and Soul puts his lightsaber, puts it on his belt, turns it off, puts it on his belt, uses the Force to and then Manny Jacinto like jumps up into the air, and he just does he's like he like knocks his ass over, and then he takes his lightsaber out and he's like, I guess I'll use this.
It's so extra, but it's so good.
I know. And you could see a Wookiee just go like complete berserk, and it's really neat.
Flawed, but still good.
Yeah. Agatha All Along. This is great for me. This fucking show.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Granted, I was this show's demographic.
Yes.
30s gay. And they got me, because there's so much of it with the cast, with fucking Patti LuPone and
Catherine Hahn,
Katie Hahn, and April Lud.
What's her name?
I don't know if I've ever known her actual real name. By the way, she's in a show that my partner's really into called The White Lotus, which is really good that she's in.
But Joe Locke,
from Heartstopper, and
honestly, just the entire cast.
The whole cast is good,
fantastic.
The story of Wanda's kids, but not it being directly related to Wanda necessarily, and the
Agatha figuring out exactly what's going on, and
in the first episode.
Yes,
yeah.
The way they retroactively pay off everything in the last episode.
Yeah,
Agatha knew exactly what was happening the entire time, but she was playing along because no one else did.
Right. This is a show you should watch twice, because when you watch it again, you're like, oh my God, it was there the whole fucking time. She, like, all of her little comments and shit was
it actually was Agatha all along.
Right. Patty LuPone's entire arc, and it is so good.
That episode is a mind screw in the best way.
Yes. Yeah. That must have been so hard to write.
Because like this, like, there are two ways I could imagine writing that: is writing everything in chronological order and then deciding where around. Things has to be moved around for dramatic effect, and writing Patty LuPone's oh my God sequences when she jumps between different timelines.
And then I think the other thing that really connected to me, the fact that it would make sense that like Billy's, like, his one desire, the whole reason he constructed the Witch's Road was to find Tommy, and the fact that and I'm not sure how they do it. I'm not sure how they deal with it, but the fact that the story ends with them being like, well, let's go get him.
Let's go find him.
And hopefully they bring back Jack Klein's Tommy Maximoff, because he was... I'm a little upset that Jillian Hilliard didn't get another swing at Billy, because he was also really good in WandaVision. Also not quite old enough. I think he's only 13, and I think they wanted a slightly older...
Well, they justified it in universe because...
he jumped bodies.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Which is also what happened to Tommy.
Yeah. I think Jack Klein's actor is the age... Joe Locke plays a 16-year-old, right? And Jack Klein is 16. Sure. So it would make sense. Because both of those kids were fucking grand in WandaVision. So I hope we get to see at least one of them again.
Great.
Bad Batch season 3.
Good.
I thought it was good too.
I think it's a very suitable wrap up to that entire era of Star Wars animation.
The fact that I don't have a lot of interest in Clone Troopers, and I know people who are like, that's their favorite part of Star Wars, and that's great.
Sure, yeah.
I've always been a lightsaber, the Force kind of guy, right? And the fact that a show kept my interest without that shit in it, I was like, damn, all right, this is pretty good. And I think it's mostly because of the story is well written. Like, it's a good story, and it's
well written.
Yeah.
If D. Bradley Baker did not win awards for this, he was robbed.
Yeah.
He voice acts half the damn show.
It's actually pretty impressive.
Like most of the scenes are just D. Bradley Baker talking to himself. It's great.
It would have been the funniest shit if he also did Omega. I would call it good. Yeah.
Solid good.
All right, you and I saw Alien Romulus in theaters, and I think before this, my partner and I watched Aliens, which was the sequel to the original Alien, starring Sigourney Weaver, and the second one Bill Paxton, and so on and so on. Yeah. And I really enjoyed this movie for what it was.
I think I call it good.
I think I would call it good as well. And I think it did well enough in theaters that they'll do something else will happen in this universe, which is cool, because the last offering we got before Alien Romulus were the Prometheus movies, and
which I've heard were closer to fucking terrible than anything else.
They've got good moments, but they're not great. So hopefully they kind of get back to. I mean,
this franchise has been going, I think, longer than we've been alive. So I'm pretty sure
that first Alien movie came out before I was born, I think.
Yeah. So they will do something with it again eventually. Yep.
The one we're on right now, Star Wars Skeleton Crew. We have not finished it yet, but a majority of it happened in 2024. So we're gonna put it on this list.
I'd call it good.
I would call it great. And because I knew what my expectations were for it before I saw it, which is it was going to be a Goonies kids show with zany adventures and goofy shit. And going in with that mindset has allowed me to enjoy it for what it is. So
it's sort of on the borderline for me, and it's hard to give a judgment without knowing how it ends. So I'm fine leaving it.
Oh yeah, I guess I could whiff the ending, but honestly, it's been fun so far. I've been like,
I've had a good time.
House of the Dragon season 2.
Ooh,
okay.
I know you're gonna say great.
I am, but I know that it deserves good. I understand, and I'm not sure it is the show's fault. This show should have had 10 episodes. It very clearly had shit in it that should have been in the story that didn't make it in. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure it's because of the writer and actor strike that happened. Yeah. But this is it as good as season 1? No, it is not. The season 1 was a stunning return to form for Game of Thrones. And it had me so fucking excited. And I went into season 2, my expectations were very super high, and I was so excited for it. And you know what? I love a lot of it. I really do. There's so much in the
entire sequence of Daemon at the fucking haunted castle.
Well, that's the thing is
every scene he's in is just great.
Yes. And even so, some of those scenes I was like, are we still at Harrenhal? What the fuck? However, that arc one thing that House of the Dragon does very well so far are these intimate human moments where the action in the show is good, but there are moments where we've said this before in the show, just two people in a room talking, and it keeps your attention the whole time just because of the performance and the writing. And that's where this show does really well. Now, does some of the palace intrigue stuff make sense? Or is it as fulfilling as the first season? Probably not. However, we still have fucking Otto Hightower chewing every scene that he's in, and
got the dragons.
The dragons
every
are cool.
time the dragons show up.
Yeah, now we have the one guy that accidentally got a dragon, and that was fucking hilarious. That whole thing was really cool. And they're we sent off a fan favorite character who had a good fucking send off. And that's rare in Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. A lot of the times when you have a fan favorite character that dies,
they die badly.
It does not go well. Yeah, and it's always very heart-wrenching because they're most of them are left unfulfilled. Ned Stark, a man of honor and would never tell a lie except for the one lie, right? Confesses to treason to save his children and himself, and they kill him anyway. And for a character like that, that's fucking devastating. Fucking the Viper just gets his head fucking crushed, right? Yeah. We saw off a fan favorite character in season 2 of House of the Dragon that chose her fate. Had the opportunity to run and could have made it. Very easily could have made it. It was fuck no, I'm on a fucking dragon. I think I'll turn around and fight because what the fuck else am I going to do, right? Fucking, there are moments in season 2 of House of the Dragon that I think are just prime amazing things. But there is a part of it that could have done better if they would have had more episodes and got more of the story done. I'm excited to see season 3. Yeah. If David Zaslav doesn't fuck it up. Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
I have to abstain here.
Have you not seen any of the? Because I know you haven't played it, but have you seen any of the story stuff?
Not really. No.
I like this. It's good. So as a game, and I know this is a low bar to pass these days. It, for me personally, at least, and I think for console players, it launched without any huge problems, didn't have any microtransaction DLCs or anything, and was playable out of the box. And so great, because that's how I would prefer games to be. It's a good entry in the Cal Kestis Star Wars story, and it clearly sets it up for a third, which they are developing now. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I think I've played it through twice already.
Cool.
And I beat it on Jedi Grandmaster.
Okay.
Not to brag. Dune Prophecy.
Oh.
I'm calling this great too.
I'm calling it great.
You know what? Because we finished it, right?
Yeah.
Recently, I think the season finale was last week, maybe?
Yep, I think so. So this, to me, this is very clearly HBO or whoever it is,
HBO
mm-hmm. looking for another Game of Thrones.
It's very Game of Thrones.
It is extraordinarily especially with the way you look at how
all the palace intrigue
and the way the season has wrapped up. Like they very clearly divide things into factions.
Yeah.
Like there's a civil war of succession about to go on, essentially.
Yeah, and everyone's gearing up, right?
Yeah. And like there's this mysterious threat in the distance that no one can see the true form of just yet.
Which is Paul Atreides, right? I think that's what hopefully they plan on it being something a little more immediate.
Well, okay, so
as opposed to something that's going to happen in 10,000 years.
Like they've based this on a book that already exists, so presumably they're going to follow that ish. I haven't read Sisterhood of Dune, but
neither have I. Yeah. In fact, before you said that, I didn't realize it was based off of shit that existed already.
Have you skipped the opening credits every single episode? Because that's where they mention it.
Probably because I don't have the patience for things like that. As you know, when we started Battlestar Galactica earlier, I was like, skip, get out of here. I think I love how this show ends because I think a lesser show would have got really tropey, and it kind of veers off in a weird direction where I was like, this is fucking cool.
Part of this is the source material because Dune is very weird.
Yeah.
Like it is like you can tell Frank Herbert was on some really good shit.
Well, it was the 70s, right? Yeah. Everyone's on LSD. Yeah. I'm excited to see. What's weird is I don't know how it's doing viewership wise. I don't know if it did super well or not. I don't really care. I think it's good. It would be interesting to know if like that part of the internet is really pissed off that there are so many women in a show.
I mean, it's Dune. The entire faction that does their space magic is all women.
Yeah. But
until Paul Atreides shows up.
Right. It's just like are they even the Bene Gesserit yet?
I believe so.
Like, do they
if they haven't started calling themselves the Bene Gesserit, they're the Bene Gesserit. They just haven't picked the name yet.
They are some cool bitches, and I like them a lot. I love the big twist, which we'll probably talk about when we actually like properly talk about probably next week. I love the big twist. I love the main bad bitch and her sister. I love both of them. I think they're both great. And I love the bad guy. He's weird and makes me uncomfortable.
The thing about this show is that I have a hard time picking out anybody as the bad guy or the good guy because like they're all various
let me
shades
rephrase
of gray.
The antagonist.
Okay. You're talking about beard guy?
Weird eyes.
Yeah.
Fucking crazy eyes. Yeah. I like it. I think he's cool. Yeah. So yeah, that whole, I think it's great. I think it's great so far.
Yeah.
Fallout.
So this is, I tried. I watched the first, like you messaged me saying, hey, this show's great. Okay. You need to watch it. I tried. I gave it 2 episodes. I could not get through it.
Really?
Fucking terrible.
Okay. I give it a good.
Okay.
And I say that as I do not care for the games, and I realize there are people that fucking love those games, and good for you.
Yep.
I was never able to get into them because if I'm going to get into like an open world RPG, I need to be into the art style and gist of it all. And I don't have an interest in 50s cyberpunkish kind of shit, like 1950s but with nukes kind of a thing.
That's about where I am.
Yeah, it's just like it's a neat concept, but I don't like mid-century style or architecture really. I think it's weird.
Plus everything is brown because it's
in the 50s, from the 50s.
No, because it's the post-apocalypse and nothing grows anymore.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you mean. The performances are amazing. There's the girl from Yellow Jackets, and then Walter Scoggins, who is a notorious character actor who plays the ghoul. He's really good.
I will grant what I've seen of the performances was quite good.
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it.
I thought it was cool. And I think they've already started filming season 2.
Good
so yeah, the second season will be out. Star Wars Outlaws.
Have to abstain.
I'm calling this good.
Okay.
Because
took them a few patches to get there from what I gather.
Yeah, I don't mind the story.
That's a ringing endorsement.
Well, the story is a little boilerplate. Oh my God, is this fucking terrible? I think this is fucking terrible. I
love the realization there. Like it's Star Wars, so it's got to be at least good, right? Oh my God, I think it's fucking terrible.
You know what would have saved it for me is if it was a better open world game.
Okay, yeah.
And I get that there are other open world games. Me saying it's fucking terrible doesn't mean I did not enjoy playing it.
Sure.
There are parts like, I like a lot of it, but the combat wasn't great at the start. The story is a little derivative. Mm-hmm. The open world is empty and dead. And it could have been better. It's fucking Star Wars. You can do anything you want.
Yeah.
Disney, you have all the fucking money in the world. You could have any game company, you give them any amount of money and say, do this and do it as good as fucking Red Dead. And someone would do it. And he chose not to do that. And I'm not saying I need a Wild West Red Dead Star Wars thing, but when I walk around on my horse with my horse in Red Dead and his balls shrink when it's too cold.
Why are you looking at your horse's balls?
Because I knew it, because someone pointed it out to me. Because they're like, did you know that?
Why were they looking at their horse's balls?
They're like, do you know that your horse's balls shrink when you go into the snow? I'm like, fuck you. No, they don't.
There's no way.
So on my own, like with the lights off, I like take my horse up to the snow. I'm like, oh, son of a bitch. His balls shrunk.
Anyway, I think we should move on.
You know what I'm saying though, right?
Yeah.
Like this, like in Red Dead 2, the world is so alive and insane, and like the NPCs are all like doing their own like it just there's so much happening, and it's so immersive and it's so alive. And Outlaws is not like that, and I wish it was.
So what I'm getting from this is Disney, if you're watching, which I know you are because you always watch us because
you pay us apparently. Yeah. That's what we're told.
Talk to Rockstar. As soon as they get done with Grand Theft Auto 6,
which will never happen, I don't think
they put trailers out.
Yeah,
it's probably only like 2 or 3 years away now. Anyway, have them make a Star Wars game. Like, it'll come out like 10 years from now, but it'll probably be pretty good.
Or just give it to another company that isn't fucking. Not that Respawn is even that bad. It's just like.
Just not Ubisoft, not EA.
Yeah, like get an indie company that you could put some money behind and hire on some extra people and like with like vision and shit, and like make something interesting. We don't need a sanitized empty world to do. It's just fucking terrible. Anyway, okay. Marvel What If Season 3.
Good.
I thought it was good too. I don't care about Captain Carter. I really don't.
Yeah, okay.
I don't mind her as a character, right? I didn't care about Steve Rogers either, but my favorite Phase 1 characters was Iron Man. Like, I don't give a fuck about Captain America.
Sure.
Like, I get it. He's fucking patriotic. He's a little nationalistic. It's thank God he wasn't working for the Nazis because...
Well, the thing with that character, whether it's Steve Rogers or Peggy Carter, is that it's about the triumph of the indomitable human spirit. Right.
I think it's just the triumph of the power of propaganda.
Well, that too.
Which, but to be fair, that is what they're criticizing in the movie, right? So,
and like the super soldier serum is just a means to give this indomitable spirit a physical representation.
Yeah. Okay.
So, aside from that, I enjoyed all the anthology episodes.
Most surprising thing in this whole season is that Howard the Duck and what's her name fucked.
Yes.
And has a kid played by Natasha Lyonne, which I thought was really fun.
That was fun.
You see Storm at some point. Mm-hmm. Fucking badass motherfucker.
They have been teasing the fuck out of individual X-Men, like Wolverine and Storm. Oh, yeah. Like, Disney, when are you going to do it?
Stop edging.
Where's the X-Men? Fucking give them to me.
Bring us to completion, please, on the X-Men thing.
Like, X-Men 97 was great and all, and I'm glad you're making season 2, but
Jeffrey Wright as the Watcher, I think, is really good too. Yes, and I hope that they bring him into live action because I bet that would be really cool.
Mm-hmm. Also, Kahori, I think is her name.
Who?
The Native American
Kahori?
Kahori, that her.
I think. Yeah, I'm not sure what her name is. By the way, I just realized it's not on the list, but Echo was this year.
Shit, it was.
It feels like that was 10 years ago.
Good.
Fucking terrible.
Really?
I like the main character.
Mm-hmm.
The story was not very interesting to me at all. I thought it was a boring show. I forgot that it happened. Like it didn't make it onto my list because
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair.
It's fine. It's whatever. But that's not fine. Isn't on the scale.
Nope.
It's either great, good or fucking terrible.
Yep.
Fucking terrible.
Okay.
Wicked.
Ooh, great. I have to say.
I would say so objectively great that
it almost breaks the scale.
I almost set a bomb to someone that I play Xbox with, because I was talking about how I took my partner to see it on opening night because we're both big Wicked fans.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, my wife and I saw it. We walked out toward the middle of it. I was like,
bruh,
fuck you. And he was like, oh yeah, because to be fair, I guess his wife was dealing with some health issues, and he was like, and we didn't realize it was a part 1, and it was like, why the fuck would that matter? It's a 3-hour fucking movie. Yeah. What does it matter? Like, did you go to Fellowship of the Ring and go trash at the end? Because they ended it like on a, it just blew my mind. Performances, great. I had no idea Ariana Grande could act like that. I had no fucking clue.
She plays probably the hardest role in the entire show from a dramatic perspective.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And she fucking nails it.
Yeah. The music, the new orchestrations for the music were great. The performances were, like, the singing performances were really good.
The wardrobe, which is a funny thing to talk about.
The look of all of it.
But the look is great. Like when
most of that shit's practical, by the way. Like so much of that shit is practical.
When she goes out the window and has the giant fucking cape that was just like it's a staging gimmick. It's designed to hide the harness that makes her fly on stage.
But it's how they
do it in live action, and it looks fucking awesome.
Well, it also looks awesome on stage.
Yeah,
because that it looks impressive on film. Like the effect, they got the effect.
Yeah.
But when you see that on stage, that cloak takes up the entire stage. It is a thing to behold. It is insane. And they captured that. And there aren't a ton of movies, particularly musicals, that make me cry more than once. And I saw a movie twice in theaters and I cried both times. I just thought it was amazing. Yeah. It was so good. HBO's The Penguin.
Ooh, great.
I thought it was great too.
Oh God.
Everything about the show is great.
So this is another show that had a spectacular cast, excellent writing. I still don't think it had to be in the Batman universe. Like, you could have just scrubbed
it's just a Sopranos style.
You could have just put it in New Jersey or New York and it would have worked perfectly.
Yeah.
But it's just so fucking good. Like, I've never cared about the Penguin. Like, he's just kind of a
he's one of the goofy.
You think of either Danny DeVito in the movies or fucking Batman the Animated Series Penguin, and they're both just
or the Adam West Penguin, who is just also really weird. Yeah,
they're goofballs, right? He's a screwy little
weirdo. Yeah.
Weird.
The Batman Returns version, for some reason, particularly horny, and no one knows why.
But
no, seriously, Danny DeVito's Penguin is so horny.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah, I know.
It's crazy.
They make him into such a compelling character in this show.
A terribly tragic end, by the way, for a fan favorite character.
For everybody involved, really.
But a particularly necessary one, because we couldn't walk away from this show thinking, oh, I hope he beats Batman, right?
Yeah.
Or like,
because like the rest of, like, if you ignore that one scene, he's a sympathetic character by the end of the season.
They do a pretty good job, but that's the thing though, is that he never was. Like everything about him, everything about him, there are so many villains that have like they have their own traumas, like Gigante, for example, which by the way, I fucking loves, like how she rebrands that name, such an Italian Gigante. Fucking great. But her whole thing is based on trauma. Her captivity in Arkham, finding out her father was the hangman, like all this stuff. Oswald was the one that caused the trauma in everyone around him when he was little.
Yep.
And he didn't have particularly a bad life. Like, he had a loving mother and he had siblings.
Except for the time she tried to have him killed.
But why did she try to have him killed? Because he killed his brothers, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying necessarily that he should have been killed, like whacked or anything, but like, he killed her other two kids. Mm-hmm. So like, I don't know, I'd probably do the same thing. And even his interactions with Vic, where he has these touchingly human moments, he does this because it makes him feel good. It's not because he wants to do a nice thing for Vic. It's because Vic makes him, you know, it reminds him of his brothers or whatever. And the second that either Vic is too much of a like a liability for him or a threat, he just changes. And that character is insane. The problem with this is that he is reportedly in the Batman Part 2 a lot. And they've just within the last week delayed that movie again, like another year, I think.
Oh.
And there's a chance we might never see it. I don't know. And a lot of this hinges on how Superman does. And I know a lot of people are loving to hate on this new Superman right now, and I get it. And a lot of it's just people yapping, and they want it to fail because
they need to suck off Zack Snyder even more. Or
so many of them are sexually attracted to Henry Cavill and they can't like just say it, which I get. He's fucking hot. Like I totally get it. They're the same guys that were bitching about Acolyte. They can't give anything a fair shake. Like everything has to be about, you know.
Anyway, we have gone very far afield.
Anyway, it's like, I hope it all works out is what I'm saying, because Colin Firth's Oswald Cobblepot is really good.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, and I hope to see him again. The last thing, I can't remember if this was one that you saw or not, but I saw A Quiet Place Day 1.
Abstain.
Okay. So I'm putting this on the list because we don't really deal with horror movie stuff, really.
In large part because I'm a weenie.
Yeah. Well said. A Quiet Place is such a weird outlier in that genre. Where, like, I think you technically have to call it sci-fi horror thriller, kind of. Mm-hmm. But John Krasinski made this universe in these movies that are so touchingly human and not necessarily about exclusively the terror and the aliens and the killing and all this other stuff. It's about humans' will to survive. And it's one of the reasons why the first two movies were amazing. I saw the first movie and loved it. I thought it was so good. We literally had tickets to see the second one. And
then COVID happened.
COVID happened the day before. like when the world shut down, the next day was when we were supposed to see it. And I had to wait, I think, like an entire year to see it or something, and loved it as well. I was afraid that with a third film, maybe they would lose a little bit of the magic, but they just switched gears on it so suddenly, and they tell such a different story that, like, I was taken aback. And the thing that's so weird about it is that it takes place in New York City on the first day of the alien invasion. This city was like 300 million people or something in it, like some crazy amount of people in it. And yet is this insane, intimate story about one person who is grappling with death and having had lost people in her life before, and then also dealing with an alien invasion.
Yeah.
And the friend that she makes and their connection, their moment together in a crisis, and how they bond together. And there's this fucking cat, Chris, throughout the whole movie that belongs to the main character, that the entire time you're like, oh, please don't kill the cat. So many moments where you're like, oh, they're going to kill this fucking cat.
Yeah.
Never happens. I'm so glad, because I can't handle shit like that. But a great story that also ends on a fucking epic needle drop, which is Nina Simone's I Feel Good. I'm Feeling Good. And it's epic. It's so fucking epic. Nyong'o, what's her first name? Lupita Nyong'o, the woman who played Maz Kanata, was the lead in this movie. Was just insanely good. Watch it if you have a chance. This is another movie. I did not expect to go see a horror sci-fi monster thing and expect to walk out crying. I was like, what the fuck did I just watch? Like that was so touching and so beautiful that it's like, what the fuck? So great. Is what I would give it. Yeah. So let us know in the comments. That's the last one I have. I don't know. Can you think of any more?
Don't think so.
Okay. Jimmy says, G'day. G'day. That's Jimmy from Australia. Obviously. Chris says, may the force be with you, Daniel and Chris. I hold you both. I think he meant something else. I think he meant, I hope you both have a great Christmas and a great New Year. 2024 was a great year for Star Wars, and I hope 2025 will be just as good. 2025 is going to be sparse for Star Wars. We've got Andor season 2, and I think that's it. I don't think there's anything else happening. Yeah,
because I want to say they were planning a movie for the end of the year, though that might be 2026 I'm thinking of.
That's not happening this year.
Yeah, well.
A couple days ago was supposed to be the day that Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron was supposed to have released.
Oh, man.
Which is a movie we will never see. Yeah. So
it was announced and canceled, then announced and canceled, and then announced and then canceled, and now it's
no one knows.
Maybe happening again.
I think maybe Taika Waititi's directing it now. No one's really sure what's going on.
That's what Taika Waititi's movie is.
That is the end of the show. That was our little retrospective of 2024. We hope everyone has a good 2025. I know that humanity has some workshopping to do, and
maybe not many days left to do that workshopping in.
Yeah. Who knows?
But anyway,
we might not be around in 100 years, but in a million years, when an alien race finally gets here from wherever, they'll find our little podcast and they'll watch every episode and be like, that's why they all died. Yeah. They were like this. So anyway, we'll see you next week, Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Central. We'll talk about the next episode of Skeleton Crew, probably Doom Prophecy. We might get into Marvel What If a little bit more, though I don't know if we need to. So anyway, take it easy. We love you guys. See you later.
Bye.